Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the #Truth Challenge podcast / web series where I talk about the whole truth and nothing but the truth in regards to young adulthood, mental health, and relationships. And we are in part 4 of our Nedra Tawaab series, y'all. Studio audience clapping if you haven't figured it out by now. I need you to catch on. So we're on part 4. And I want to start by saying I'm struggling. Okay, I'm struggling. These past couple of weeks I've been struggling. I have been emotional. I have been just like in this funk, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to get out of it. I don't really know what's happening. So my energy might be kind of low, but it might not be, because filming and recording always makes me feel better. But if you notice any different, like, sis, I'm struggling just a smidge. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten to the bottom of it, but I intend to. Okay, lots of introspection, lots of soul searching, all that jazz. Okay. So for today's Nedra Tawaab post, it is going to be normalize doing this. Okay, and we got a plethora of things. I'm gonna try to go through them quickly, but I like talking, and once I start talking, sis, I just be going and going. But we're gonna get through these. Okay, number 1, normalize apologizing. I hear like this running joke that women don't apologize, and to be quite frank, it's partly true. Okay, women don't be apologizing. Now, I be apologizing. If you know me, you know I am an apologizer. If I see my fault in something, I'm going to apologize. Or if you bring something to my attention, I'm going to apologize. But the narrative as a whole of, like, specifically women not apologizing, it's kind of trash. Like, women, I know we don't want to grow up. I know, everybody not trying to be better and do better with their lives, but let's start apologizing, okay? Especially when you're wrong, like, it's totally your fault. You have misunderstood, or you have just not acted as you should have, or responded as you should have to a situation. Let's normalize apologizing, okay? Stop giving all of us a bad rep, okay? You need to say sorry to that man or that woman or whomever. Apologize. Let's make it a normal thing. It almost hurts to apologize because we don't like being. Apologizing hurts your ego. It does. But if you are truly confident and not egotistical, you'll still know who you are within an apology, and it won't make you feel less as a person for admitting your faults and your wrongs, because you're already so in touch with yourself, and you're so confident not only in the things that you're confident in, but confident also in your flaws and the way that you know yourself, that you could be like, hey, my bad, I know I be doing that, I know I say things like that, I know that I do A, B, C, and D, my fault. But you got to get to that maturity, okay? Get there, catch up, let's do better. Number 2, normalize asking questions. I know I have a hard time asking questions sometimes, depending on who it is, what it is, the context of the situation. You just don't, it's almost like asking questions is like a burden, and then you almost be feeling stupid, because if you ask a certain question and you feel like, dang, they kind of answered that, but I want to like further clarify. But what if they already clarified and I'm just asking another question and they just gonna restate what they already said? It's like this whole thing in your mind that starts happening. Again, asking questions could hurt your ego, okay? Because you may feel stupid, or somebody may demean you for asking certain things, or making you feel like you should just know certain information. We always hear that no question is a dumb question, but we all know there are such things as dumb questions. But you have to be planted enough in yourself to know that even if I ask this question, it may be a dumb question, but I myself am not dumb. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, be solid in yourself. Normalize trusting yourself. This is so hard for me to do. Trusting my own judgment, trusting my own decisions, trusting my own discernment when I feel like something is off, or I feel like something is wrong, or I feel like I should take a certain leap of faith or do something that's just like totally outside of my comfort zone, and I like feel in my gut that I should do it, but then it's just like that thing within you that's just like, you should stop. It's like this whole war all the time, back and forth, of like what I need to be doing and what I know is best for me. And I guess sometimes I personally don't trust that I know what's best for me all the time, and that's for a number of different reasons. I feel like we all have our reasons why we don't trust ourselves, whether it be, you know, something someone has said to us or something that has happened, and again, we're wrong and it's hurt our ego, and now we're all fragile and frail and we don't want to say anything, and we just feel like our voice is crippled. Whatever it may be, it is all a part of the journey of learning to trust yourself and knowing that nobody knows you better than you, and you know what's best for you. It's not a bad thing to have wise counsel. I feel like we all need that, because, you know, we go astray a little bit, but for the most part, we know us. We know us. That's it. Normalize tolerating discomfort. That just hit me a little bit, because I feel like a lot of what's going on with me is not admitting that I'm a bit more uncomfortable than I'd like to admit. I feel like I've adjusted well to all of the changes in 2020. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm struggling to normalize the new normal, and whatever that looks like for me or to you. I think I just haven't got things as figured out as as much as I like to think. This has been much harder than I thought it was gonna be. Just a little context, just moving to Texas, starting a new job, trying to make friends, doing podcasts and videos and editing and all this stuff. Although a lot of it has been a thrill, it's also been very difficult. So I can't say that I'm tolerating discomfort well. Obviously not. Okay, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not doing as good as a job as I thought. So there's that. Normalize advocating for yourself. I talked about this a little bit in the last video. And just speaking up for yourself, and that comes with also trusting yourself, right? And trusting your own judgment, trusting that you know what's best for yourself, and listening to that voice, and then vocalizing it because you believe you trust you. And in turn, it makes you a little bit more bold about the way that you speak about yourself to others, how you defend yourself, your gut, trusting that inner man, right? And just believing yourself, what you say, how you carry yourself, your work ethic, whatever capabilities or shortcomings you may have, knowing those things, being strong in those things, and then being able to live it out in its entirety. Normalize being human. Listen, we ain't perfect. Ain't nobody perfect. Ain't nobody got it all together. If you say you got everything together, you is a lie from the pit of hell, okay? And you need to send that lie from which it came. You don't have it all together. I don't have it all together. That's the whole point of this podcast. Just telling my truth of how I'm just trash at everything in life and adulting and relationships and taking care of myself, but wanting to be better, and embracing the imperfect parts of me as well, and talking about it, because again, we live in a society where everybody's just posting such great things and such wonderful things, and you're going on this trip and you're with these friends and you're doing this and you're doing that, and your life is just so perfect. Mine is not. I be struggling. I'm currently struggling. I don't know what to do with my life half the time. I'm just taking it day by day, moment by moment, and my intentions are to grow. That's the whole story. Normalize addressing instead of avoiding. Listen, from a conflict avoidant, it is okay? I've gotten a little bit better with that in the past year or so, because there are some situations that I just was not able to get away from. There are situations where I needed to talk and I needed to have those hard conversations. If I was going to respect myself, respect my boundaries, and also have someone else take my boundaries seriously, just having those hard conversations with the people around you to in turn maybe make it more healthy, a little bit more like functional, because having a relationship over top of dysfunction is toxic, and we should all stop. And that comes with also being uncomfortable and tolerating discomfort, right? Because hard conversations are uncomfortable and they're awkward and they're, they can be hurtful, or they can be intense, and they can be exhausting and all those things. But I'm learning that I would rather sacrifice that moment of discomfort rather than a lifelong unhealthy toxic relationship that I then have to take that time to heal from, right? Yeah. Normalize incorporating new information. I think this is my favorite one. I have learned so much about myself over the past year and a half, 2 years, and I have enjoyed learning new things about myself. I have learned to throw out old ideas or old thoughts, old thinking, and adopt things that fit where I see myself going in life. I love learning. I love to gain information. I love to have intellectual conversations. I love things that bring new perspective to me and to my life, and just bring new understanding, because I feel like I'm addicted at this point to growing. I'm addicted to learning something that is going to better me, something that is going to help me get to the next dimension of who I am. And just keeping hold to certain thoughts have just constricted me more than anything. So as I keep learning and gaining, I'm growing. So incorporating new information it's a plus, and if you aren't doing it, you need to get with it. You need to get your life so you can change your life. Let me see what's next. Normalize admitting when you don't know. This is my favorite. I had a whole conversation with my supervisors day before yesterday, and I just was saying how I didn't know what was going on in my life. I didn't really know what was going on with me, and I'm trying to get comfortable with not knowing, which is so hard, because we want to know the next step. We want to know the next part of the journey. We want to know what the next chapter is. We want to know what the next sentence is. We want to know what the next word is, so we can properly prepare ourselves, right? But I feel like the most growth is in the unknown, and just going with the flow and letting life just be an adventure that you learn day by day from. Like, there are no real solid like plans, because you always have your plan and then there's God's plan, and you be like, I thought we was doing this, but you said we're doing this, but now we doing this, but you want me to do this. We was over here, now we over there. We was here, now we. And if you don't surrender control, I'm not saying don't make plans. I'm not saying don't prepare. I'm not saying don't, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying. But also there's a level of release that you have to have on life to experience it in its fullness. And a part of that fullness is unknown. That was a lot. I could keep going on that one, but we gonna move on. Okay. Normalize working through codependency. Working through codependency is so hard because you're codependent. You're dependent on certain people in certain relationships, and you're dependent on certain things happening a certain way so that you can respond a certain way. Because it's easy. It's that's your normal. That's what's comfortable. And I have witnessed codependency on a strange level, and it's weird and it's delusional. I'm not saying that it's an insult to anybody, because we've all been codependent at some extent or another with a person, place, or thing. But I have experienced that delusion, and I'm glad that it is no more. It's not something that I necessarily worked through. I just removed myself from it. Normalize setting and honoring boundaries. Sis, I was struggling with boundaries until I realized that mine had been crossed, that mine had been manipulated, that mine had been beat up, kicked to the curb, and just all that. And mostly because I let it. Boundaries are boundaries because you set them in place and you enforce them and you keep them as are. And if you are not solid on your boundaries, then people will do whatever they want to do. So I have learned first to honor my boundaries in so many ways. And some people may think that I'm being mean or withdrawn. Boundaries come off offensive to people that think that some of your boundaries aren't necessary, or if they don't make sense, or if they feel like, oh, well, that's not my boundary, so that can be crossed. It's offensive to people when they don't understand your boundaries and don't understand that they need to be respected. And I am learning that day by day, moment by moment, in everything. I am learning boundaries in relationships. I'm learning boundaries with myself. I'm learning boundaries at work, and just boundaries in everything. They are so necessary for your mental health. Keep your boundaries in place, sis. We ain't got time for nobody to be playing with you. Don't let nobody play with you. Normalize recognizing what you don't know. So this is kind of like the one before, admitting that you don't know. Recognizing and admitting are two different things, though, because you can recognize something and not acknowledge it. Recognizing is just as important as admitting. Once we have an epiphany about something, it's important then to have a talk with ourselves about it. I think that conversations with ourselves are just as important as conversations that we have with other people. You need to talk to yourself about what it is that you're feeling, why you're feeling that, and how you are exuding that in everyday life. So when we have a realization of something, we also need to admit to ourselves our fault or our misunderstanding or our ignorance of something, as well as with the people around us that it may be affecting that we're in relationship with. That's really important. Normalize remembering that you have choices. This has been so hard as an adult, and I feel like I can say this in the Black community, that realizing that we have choices is such a struggle, because growing up, if you grew up Black, listen, what your mama said, that was it. That was the whole story. It wasn't no back and forth. It wasn't no ifs, ands, or but. If they said it, that's just what it was. You didn't have no choice. It wasn't a democracy. I didn't necessarily grow up that way, but for the most part, it was like, if my mama and daddy said something, that was just it, sis. It wasn't nothing to say back. But then the reverse of that is, as we get older, it's harder for us to make our own decisions apart from our parents. I know that I struggle with that because, listen, anything can happen and I don't know what's going on. I'm calling my mother immediately. Tammy, yes, such and such has happened. What do I do? And again, I guess to a certain extent, like, that's okay when we're just navigating through life and we just need to know certain information. But then other end of the spectrum, it's like, I am a full adult. I am almost 30 and I am capable and aware enough to make decisions for myself. And that's where all that comes in of listening to yourself, trusting yourself enough to make your own choices and knowing that you know what's best for you. One thing that brings me a lot of comfort and peace in life is that even if I make the wrong decisions, I know that it's going to work out. A scripture that comes to mind for me is all things are working together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. Meaning that even when I make a bad decision, it's going to work out for my good. Either way, I'm either going to learn something or gain some type of information, gain some type of insight. And that brings me a little bit more peace that I don't have to do everything perfectly all the time. But as I go, I learn. And even if what I gain is just knowledge, it may not be anything tangible, but I've gained something in here and in here. Okay, moving on. Last one. Normalize sharing only what you feel comfortable sharing. Always, 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 always. You don't have to tell everybody every little thing about you, about what's going on in your life, about what you do, where, how, what time. Like, it's not everybody's business. And that, again, that comes with trusting myself, knowing what to share, when to share, with who, and all that jazz. This is some good stuff. Again, if y'all do not follow Nedra Tawaab, I sincerely do not know what y'all are doing with y'all life. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you're navigating social media without these nuggets of information, because they help me daily. Do you hear me? Daily. And that's just that. This has been another episode of the #Truth Challenge podcast / web series. If you want to listen to this podcast, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play. If you want to watch these videos, you can find me at Tamia Speaks on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at #Truth Challenge. My personal page is at Tamia Celise. And I just thank y'all for listening. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for being here and being supportive and subscribing and liking and sharing all that jazz. I appreciate y'all. I will catch y'all on the next episode.